Hello and welcome back to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a slice of life. We're actually here to take a diversion from Eurovision and to talk about Sámi GP, which has happened this year a few weeks ago. So we're gonna have a little chat about it. With me, I have the lovely Nicholas. Say hi, Nicholas.
Hello.
And the lovely Daniel, who is visiting from Sámi Music Blog. So he's
Wow.
come to talk to us as well. Welcome in. Right. Let's get into it. So, we are 1 week out from Sámi GP, which happened on the 28th of March. And we had, as usual, we had six lovely Joikas and six lovely artists to entertain us from across Sápmi. So we have a series of people to kind of talk about in this. We had a lovely show. Let's talk about the show itself before we get into the songs. Nicholas, this was your first time watching Sámi GP, right? So I think I'll come to you first. What did you think of the show?
I was actually pleasantly surprised by the show. I didn't really know what to expect going in, despite being the one in this group from the Nordics. I didn't know much about Sámi music or the whole culture going in. I knew a little bit, of course, from the things we've had in Eurovision before, but it's not really a thing here. Like Denmark is so far down south in the Nordics that we don't really get it. The only real experience I had with Sami music growing up was Ori Escabeno by the Black Sheeps. Shout out to the three people who will get that reference. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. I thought the show was very well structured. I liked that they would go like between the normal songs. I don't know what to call it. Like the songs
The
and the
songs,
yoikers.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just go with songs. You're right.
Yeah.
Um, that they would like go between them, so you didn't have like it didn't feel like two competitions in one. It more felt like you were there for the whole experience, and I liked that about it. I think it was very professionally put together as well. I feel like from what I've heard and from what you've talked about as well, we haven't always had so much of a focus on stagings as we had this year, and I really liked that there was so much going on. It felt really polished, and yeah, there was just a lot of really interesting bits. I really did enjoy it.
So let's go to you next, Daniel. What was your thoughts on the show as a Sámi GP veteran at this point?
You say that this was the first time I was able to watch live at home due to just various circumstances. So it was first of all it was lovely to be able to just sit here and watch and not be in a hostel or a Flixbus. That's a big upgrade just from the start. But I've said this pretty much every year I've watched it. It is amazing that they can do that in what is essentially your local sports hall. Like it's not some arena. It is. I have like a sports hall like that down the road from me, and they've managed to put on a really slick, snazzy production in that. And I think it's a testament to, and we from a Eurovision context, I it's that's been seen over the years with like Moldova this year even. The power of love and care for the show that you put on goes way further than any money can. Because if you have people actively caring about the show and paying attention to the minute little details that no normal person will notice, like tiny LED things, it all adds up in the most perfect way. And I really liked how this year, as Nicholas said, there was more room for staging in the Joiks, where we've had it before with some staging, like where that would just be standing in like a fog effect with some very, very cool laser effects, I must say. But this year especially, Sarah Neilut with the craft stable, and Biret and Ravna with the wedding. Which, when I first saw that, I was like, they got a wedding!
I was overjoyed with that, honestly. I was like, those two were my favorites going into it. We'll talk about that more later, but like I was just elated. And I have to agree with you, Daniel, that like the amount of the amount of work that goes into the staging of these, and not obviously the Yoik has had more this year, which is really nice. But I think overall we had some really good staging here.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who I watch it with had not seen the show before or were not familiar with the show. The first thing they see when they see like Eleanor's staging is they go, "Oh my God, it's 18s again!" Like, but this is being done on that like tiny level in a tiny sports hall to be able to get that level of slick staging.
Also, her
Um,
costume change.
oh, be still my heart. I love her. I
The,
love her. Anyway, I'm trying to resist talking about
this,
the songs.
the,
But
the way the way they got like a traditional dress that could be ripped off in a second in one camera shot baffles me.
and they've put on online
Like what
how they did
watching
the
it live, I was like,
switch.
how? I thought I'd like missed a shot or something.
Go on Eleanor's Instagram. She's got the moment of the switch on it. It's brilliant. Anyway, I do think we had a great show this year. I think
Yeah.
the hosts were very funny as well, is the one thing that I would say is, you know,
Especially th thanks to the subtitles, I got the jokes.
I was watching on SVT, so I had the Swedish subtitles, so I got some of the jokes. I was like, I'm sort of winning.
Oh, it
Um,
was so Nordic. Like, I love it. I love that they fully lean into the stereotypes of the Northerners being like really introverted and very like dead-faced people. I love it. I love when they just fully lean into that because it's so funny.
but it,
I liked how they said they were using the mellow up as part of the reconciliation process. That was my favorite.
it was just I think they had a really good tone to the
You can
show.
tell that Isolio is a comedian by trade.
Yeah. It was a good fun time. It was I had fun watching. I also want to mention the interval act because oh my God, that was badass as hell.
Yeah.
One of the things I love the most is when Sámi GP takes a nod to the past or takes a nod to something specifically cultural, and then with the best, I mean these words in the best will in the world, fucks it up with something new. And I loved that interval. I think I've watched it about 6 times now. I just keep going back and watching it because it's so good. But yeah, whoo. I was very impressed. I love that Sami GP keeps doing this. We saw this a few years ago with Indigenous Bastards as well, which
Great name.
just comes great name for an act, but also they were brilliant, you know, the willingness to just kind of fuck it up in the best possible way. Right, should we talk about some songs? Should we talk about these separately? Should we talk about the yoiks first and then the songs?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
So, Daniel, well, I'll come to you first. Your faves of the yoiks, what impressed you? What maybe surprised you?
I'll start with one that really grew on me the most on a night, which was Berit and Ravna, because I wasn't initially super sold on. I wasn't personally like hugely in favor of it myself, as my opinion, but I think a yoik duet is, it was something that was new to me. I don't know if that's been in a competition before or anything, but when it came to the live, they sold it so much. It's because they said in the pre-show thing, which you can still watch, great watch. We want to show the world what a Sámi wedding is like, and oh boy, did they! That is just excellent staging and great fun. But also Saranilot, who came so close to the win, and I think that is something we will get onto. I really loved how she harmonized with the other people on the stage at the start and finish, but then took control of it herself. And we've spoken like not on video about this, but you can tell the personality of Isla Garin from that yoke. That she's like really bubbly and fun to be around. That comes across in the yoke, and it's great. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Per Weng Leaf Slot because the camera panning to Leaf Slot at the end in tears, just floods, got me. That was so sweet. And also Lars Antti Koopmanen. I really like how he explained it. It's a yoke for his son that he wrote, or it came to him across several years as his son was growing up. So it builds. So it starts off like there, then it goes like there, and to the end. It's indistinguishable from the start. And I love that. It, that is, in essence, what yoik is.
Yep. I think, I think it is somewhat harder for, people who aren't used to hearing a yoik. Like this is my third year of Sámi GP. And I'm getting quite used to hearing a yoik now and quite used to understanding what a yoik is doing, structurally and, as a as a piece of work. And there was a lot of really good harmonizing across several of the acts this year. People were joined with
I
another background
I don't
artist,
think
which I don't think we've had.
anyone was joined last year, unless
Yeah,
I'm
I don't think we had
misremembering.
that before. Like maybe we have had way back in the past. I don't know, but it was really nice to see that, given that extra boost from the harmonize. I love a close harmony in anything. So this is nothing new at all. But and for anybody who is watching this and does not know how to listen to a yoik, uh, I asked Pierre Era when I spoke to him at Melfest weekend on how to listen to a yoik. So go back and watch our interview on that. Now, Nicholas, this is your kind of your first time in listening to a yoik like this. Do you have any thoughts, even if you didn't really have a favorite, did you have any thoughts about the yoiks?
I think definitely what stood out for me, like, because I hadn't done a lot of research going into it, and I think I could have probably done that, but at the same time, it's like sometimes it's just nice for art to just like for you to just experiencing it without really knowing what you're going into. And I think what stood out for me is that there is such a difference between them. Because I think, if the only real exploitation to yoik you've had is something like Kaino, for example, you kind of think you know what it is, and you kind of think that it just goes one certain way, and that's it. I think what this show showed me was that there is such a difference in it. And like you said, there is a difference between a happy yoik and a sad yoik, and you can feel that. And some of it feels more melodic, and some of it feels more story driven. There's a lot of things going on, and I think you're not gonna get it from your first listen, and I didn't really get it, so I can't really point out any certain favorites. There weren't really any that stood out more than the others for me, because I think, it's at the start you just kind of have to take it in. And I think, like, watching the show next year, I think I'm gonna listen a little bit more to the introductions where they talk a little bit about what the yoik is actually about, to try to get a better understanding of what to kind of listen for. And I think that'll give me a different experience next year, which I'm interested to see.
Right. Yeah. I think it is something that comes with practice. I mean, they're all so beautiful as is. I think there is a beauty to the yoik, regardless of whether you know what you're hearing. But I think, to delve deeper into what it means, it takes time and knowledge, I think. Let's go on to the songs. Slightly more familiar territory. Nicholas, I'm gonna come to you again. So what did you think of the songs in the song category?
Yeah, I think first of all, I feel like the quality was very high. I think that one of the things that at least I feel like we see sometimes with these kind of like Eurovision-esque contests is that sometimes there aren't, put the same amount of like songwriting in it maybe, or not, there's maybe not the same budget for like huge productions. But this wasn't like that. I feel like this was like there were some really well produced songs here and some great songwriting. It felt like, a lot of stories here, and the visuals as well, I think were really great. And it stood out for me again, like a little bit like what I talked about with the Yorks. It's like there is a diversity in this, sure, there is like the common thing of the language there, but Sami is so many different things, and you can hear that in the songs as well. But I think for me, the one that stood out the most for me, and the one that's actually of these songs actually ended up on like my daily everyday listen playlist, is Sofia Miena and OK Nico with Goston Lat. I really love that song. I think it has a really nice build up. I really like the staging of the song as well. And I think, like, considering that it was her debut song and it was her first time on a stage, even a small stage like the Sámi Grand Prix I'm sure can feel frightening, but I think she handled it very well. I think she was really professional. There was a lot going on in that staging as well, so there was a lot for her to kind of do, and interact with the staging, interact with the camera and everything. And it was just like, it's one of those songs where I feel like that could have been an MGP and I wouldn't have batted an eye. Like, that felt so MGP, but in a good way. And I think it's so interesting because I had a totally different idea of what this contest was going into it, and I came out of it thinking, this is just a song contest. Like, it's a different language, sure, but it's, just as much on par with some of the national finals, even better than some of the national finals we've had for Eurovision this year, for example. So all in all, very impressed.
And for you, Daniel?
First and foremost, not only is the quality high, which again it is, I think it's very even as well. Like, I don't think there is one song in here that is significantly better or even like marginally better or worse than any of the others. I I, I could rank these, listen to them all again, and every single one would be in a different position. And I think that is a sign of a very healthy climate for a contest like this to have. We saw in the end 1 point separated first from second, and 1 point separated second from third. That just shows there is quality here. And it's going to be very competitive because I've never been able to call the winner in this. in so many of the shows, you can tell just as soon as the song's dropped, oh, that one's winning. It's not going to be close. It will landslide. You could have told me after all the songs had performed on this, predict a winner. Sure, Eleanor would have been my if you pointed a gun to me prediction, but I wouldn't have been confident in that at all. I think there was a feasible path to victory for every song, every yoik on that night.
Which is such a nice
Yeah,
position to be in. Like, I mean, both you and I were discussing before the show, and we were definitely sitting there going, it's so hard to pick between the song category because there is just such a depth of, great stuff going on here. And, you know,
for the most part, they are all very different from one another.
yes, agreed. One of the things people I think about Sami music is that all Sami music is the same. That it's,
Yeah,
sad women singing sad ballads and, maybe men singing like songs. You know what I mean if I say that, right?
yeah,
Um, but we had such a range here. We had such a good range, and I think there's something for everybody here, which is, I think, reflected in the voting.
yeah,
That like you're saying that it was so close. This is not a sign of everything's meh. This is a
yeah.
sign of everything's really good quality, actually.
I will talk about my favorites now. And Helgen and Håkon, I have been following since they were in Northkid in 2022 in MGP. I have been wanting them in this show for quite a while, since I started following it, basically. They so delivered. I think I really do get why they didn't do as well with the jury, but I really get why they won the televote. Because it was a party. And th those boys know how to perform. They've been on like the festival circuit around Norway. They've worked with like the Norwegian party artists. And with songs like that, you can sometimes forget that they are some of the better producers in Norway, those two. Like they've worked with like biggest artists in Norway. They've worked with artists in like Korea, Japan as well. There is pedigree there. And I really like the meaning, especially as somebody we are all watching this from the outside looking in. And their songs essentially, we're gonna have a big party. You're invited, you're invited, you're invited. Let's have a great time. I just loved that. It well, I think it's my most streamed song of the year so far. I think it might be for quite a while to come yet. And my other major one, I've still not really decided between these two is Dorvobaiki by Caroline Koopmanen. Disney. Dis My first thought, and still, especially after the staging, this is a Disney song, and a really good one at that. And even though I knew that it was her daughter on stage, it still really got me at the end with the big finish. It was a really emotional song, but also if you watch that performance back and just watch her closely. She has the biggest smile on her face, and that melts my heart because that is essentially at the end of the day what this is all about. People being proud of their identity, proud to be on this stage and deliver a beautiful performance. And we talked about it for the Joiks as well. The stagings here were incredible. that is how you stage a ballad like that. That with Helga and Håkon, that's how you stage a banger like that. With Ellen, that is how you stage a slick modern pop song like that. With Kaya, that's how you stage. I'm going to borrow a quote from the pre-show, a driving song like that. Oh, Joiks, that's how you stage a cunty folktronic banger
Electronica
like that.
banger.
And gosh darn that, that is how you stage a heartbreak song. It is, people can watch this. It is a masterclass in staging. And it's not necessarily too expensive staging either. Like Sophia and Nika, they had what, a lamp and a chair? You can go to IKEA and get that and have great staging along the way. And it goes back into there is care and greater attention put into this.
Mm. Yeah, I think that certainly we have, you know, comparing this to, for example, some national finals, for example, even going to like Panoptic Vision and stuff like that and looking to what that was like this year, the level of quality in the staging here. I mean, I'm gonna mention Alu Yorks because Alu Yorks is the person I'm going to adopt the most hard this year. I'm not gonna lie. She is the most me person out of this whole bunch. But yeah, that staging was that was exactly the kind of vibe that I wanted and more from her. I loved that so much. I think the one that surprised me, not in terms of staging, but in just in terms of like how it was on stage, like I had not given a lot of attention to Kala Urhan, but that was probably the ones that
I loved him so much.
really stood out to me on the night, and what a dork. I mean that in the most affectionate way. What a dork. Yeah, 10 out of 10 would drink with if given the opportunity. Just came across as such a likable person. Yeah. I mean, I love what Han Helga and Hannah Håkon do, that their concept of kind of we will sneak Sami representation into our songs. And I
Yeah,
know
and
it's been
they've been doing that for years.
yeah,
That's what.
but I
Uh,
know that it also got them a lot of criticism because they were like, well, the song's Norwegian, but that's the point. That's literally the point. You can't criticize them for that. They are trying to widen the field. They are trying to say, we are going to make you get in with this, whether you like it or not, by sneaking it
yeah,
in. And
I also think that they've been quite open about the fact that they don't really know the Sami language, and amongst Sami people, they're not alone in that, but they're not shying away from it and saying, "I guess we can't take part." They're taking part. This isn't even their like first time involved, really. Helga was on the songwriting team for Ivana Tana last year, Banger. And
banger.
I would love to see them stick around, maybe on the performance side, maybe on the producing side, because
I
I
really hope
think that they can be really great assets to this competition.
I really
And
hope that they don't get too burned by the fact that the jury gave them such a
I
low score. But also,
I really hope they focused that they won the televote
I
with a
also
song
hope it
about
does not
not
aff
belonging.
yeah. I also hope it doesn't affect artists like them from applying.
Yeah,
Because there is that risk that people will go, well, I'm never going to get anything from the jury. Why should I bother? Which I
yeah.
really hope doesn't happen. Anyway, we should talk about our winners.
Just
Oh,
before
go
that,
on.
Kala Erheim dropping on national television. This is holy shit pants.
What a dude. Hello, Heim. We would like to sit down with you in a bar of your choice and just have a really good chat.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about our winners? So we had I'm gonna say this wrong, Antonios Bongo as our Yoik winner and Eleanor as our song winner. Quick thoughts from Nicholas.
Yeah, if we start with the Yoik, I think this was definitely one of those that stood out for me. Like I could definitely tell that there was something a little bit extra about this. I think this was one of those that felt more melodic to me. So I think it was maybe a little bit more accessible. So there could be some people like me who were watching for the first time and gave this a vote because it felt a little bit more like it a little bit more easy to get into and to listen to and feel to. So I think that was great. And I think that's potential of why it did so great. But again, I think it's difficult for me to say, is this a good York or not? I just don't know enough about it yet. But if we go to Eleanor and the song winner, this was definitely also one of those that I had on my radar as this could be a potential winner. But I think Daniel is totally right. Everything had its own moment, and there were so many things here, and especially when you haven't watched it before, you don't know what the jury goes for. You don't know what the public goes for. So I didn't have any predictions really going in. I was just very excited to see how it was gonna go. But like looking at it, while this wasn't one of my favorites, I totally get why it won. I think there is a lot of quality here. I think she performs it so well. She's so confident and she sounds great. And I think the song has a little bit of everything, but not too much. So like it's that very nice balance between feeling both very Sami and traditional, but also feeling pop and modern and cool. And I like that about it. I think the only thing that like put me a little off this song maybe is that I feel like the chorus is just a tad bit too repetitive, and I wish they could have maybe done a little bit more there. But I think that's really my only criticism. I can definitely see why it won.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think especially with Eleanor, I think it's a good song that can sort of by proxy promote the show in a way, in that I could see that getting just regular airplay on the non-Sami radio stations, like up in Norway, Sweden, Finland, wherever. Because it is a song that, sonically speaking, would really fit in. And it's quite similar to a lot of the Norwegian pop girlies that are coming up at the minute. A lot, and there is no reason that somebody performing in Sami can't be amongst them. Because English media is big in Norway. Why can't Sami music be big all over Norway? And as for Anthony Nicklas, I think it wasn't my personal favorite. I understand why it won because he is a really solid performer. He's been in the show a lot of times, so he'll be like a known name, and he's his experience really shows when he's performing on the stage, I think.
Yeah, I Eleanor was definitely one of my favorites going into this. She was in my constantly rotating top three, as going into this, and also I really, really love her pink dresses, that she's been wearing for the promo shots. Um, I, deserved winner in my opinion. Something quite magical of that track, particularly. I just, yeah, I just really enjoyed it. There was something, even though I was watching it on, my phone on a bus. I took the Daniel curse this time. I think there was just something really magical about that performance. It just felt really just like sinking into something beautiful. And Antonellas, yeah, again, not my favorite of the Yoiks, but definitely can see why it won. Definitely can see all the elements there. And I think, it was a great time from start to finish, really. And there is something very very kind of cyclical about it that really is very satisfying to my brain, which is really, really nice. So we've discussed all the songs and all of the yoiks. I think one thing to wrap up is what we are hoping for Sámi GP 2027. I'll come to you first, Daniel. What are you hoping for?
One thing that I sort of observed this year is I would like more points to be allocated because it was really, really close. And I wonder, in terms of like raw votes, maybe spread it out a little bit. Because even if it's the same amount of people voting, same amount of jurors voting, there being only like 20, 30 points between first and last feels a bit to me. Maybe I'm just a simpleton and big numbers make my brain go wow. But I think that there's a difference between hearing, oh, they got 38 points from the televote. I wonder how that will play out between they got 150, say. I feel that even if it's the same sort of proportion, makes you go, whoa, more.
You just want big numbers.
I just love a big number.
You want some big numbers. You just want like
But
10,000 votes to the
yeah, yeah.
winner, yeah.
But also something I'll give them credit to this year. All the good things that I like that they added last year are still there. Which it feels backhanded me saying that, but it really isn't if you've seen most other shows. Because they will get at really good things and the next year they are gone. And they are the biggest compliment I can give is there's not really much more I can say that they really need to do. Because everything's kind of there now. I think they've pretty much fully settled into the modern Sámi Grand Prix process that started in 2019. There's a YouTube channel now. There's an Instagram now. There's voting on the Mello app now, which, sure, it's strange that a Swedish Eurovision final app is the place to vote, but the infrastructure is there, so why not use it? And it gets people through the door. It gets people collecting their cards, and it was a useful resource even for me, who is like returning viewer to the show. Like that's how I found out the running order. That's how I found out like more about the artists. And one thing I will say for maybe a next few years is maybe, and I don't want this to come at like detriment to the show. So if it's if it will harm the show, don't do it. But I think all the songs and all the Joiks one were in the Northern Sami language. That makes sense because it's the biggest by far. But I would maybe like that. Well, actually, no, there was one Lule Sami song as well. I would like there to be more room made for songs in the other Sami languages. Maybe this could come by expanding the show. Maybe take it from like 6 to 8 or something. Because there are some minuscule languages uh, that very, very few people speak. I'd like to give a shout out to the person who's made the Wikipedia page for Sámi Grand Prix 2026 in the Inari Sami language, which has 400 native speakers. And I think that's just a beautiful example of the mission of Wikipedia, first of all, and also the mission of Sámi Grand Prix, which at the end of the day, it's not just let's have a sing song, it's let's keep this culture alive. And I know that with there being not that many speakers, it'll be hard to get artists in from these, but already they've had sort of artists working with translators. This year we had Dover that had a translator, and Moon Lane that had a translator. So I don't think they should shy away from that. And also, there are some really great artists that perform in those languages. And essentially dream big. If you want, if there's a great artist performing in one of those languages, slide into their DMs, Sámi Grand Prix producers. So, even if it's like an interval act, say, "Hey, nice song you have there. Want to come perform it?" Because in this is a big stage, and this was the prime television channel in Norway, SVT2 in Sweden, the main art channel in Finland. It's a big stage for a culture like this to be showcased, and getting not shying away from it, a language that is very on the edge of dying, some of these, and putting them essentially into a living archive is the mission of this show at the end of the day. And I would love to see more of that.
What about you, Nicholas? What are your thoughts? I know you've not watched it before, but like any thoughts for
Also,
2027?
more John Henrik Fjellgren, please. Thank you.
Of course.
You and Jon Henrik Falgren, Jesus.
I think that's valid. I think that's valid. No, I think I'm gonna come at the question a little differently because first of all, yes, I don't know a lot about it yet, but I also feel like, as Daniel has said, like it is very well produced already. There's a lot of good things here, and you can definitely tell that this is a contest that has existed for many years now, so they know how to do it, compared to something like the Pan Arctic Vision, for example, who is still trying to find its footing and where that's gonna go. I think this is so slick and so professional. And for someone like me who's a big believer in keeping these minority languages alive, the fact that this is taken so seriously, that this feels like that there's been taken so good care of the artists and the way that they approach it and the way that they're showing it on television. I love that they're doing so much, and I think that's honestly the most important part. The fact that we then also have some amazing songs is just the cherry on top. But the fact that the Sami language and the culture can be shown off in this way on a primetime slot, I think that's wonderful. I think that's one of the best things about this contest. And with it now being like put into the Mellow app, and with it being feeling like a national final almost, part of me feels like they could go even further with that, potentially have the winner performing at MGP, for example, or actually have the MGP producers go to Sámi Grand Prix and actually look at these artists, look at these
I
producers.
I said last year it would have been a failure on NRK's part if they let Jonna Levy out of the arena without signing a contract. I think the same can be true for multiple of the performers from this year
I
because
think,
they would
yeah,
any one of them would bring so much to a Norwegian Melody Grand Prix, even if they don't win.
I think this is
They
one of
would
the
they would they would
running
all be a song that people would be talking about.
one of the running themes with everybody I speak to about Sámi GP is that, and these are mostly people who are or have been Eurovision fans, is we want to see this in the national selections. If people don't want to be in as an artist, trying to get the represent whatever, we want to see this as an interval act. We want to see this representation on stage. And it is nice to see, like, um SVT and stuff getting more involved this year. The pre-shows coming back because they dropped last year, didn't they, Daniel? I don't think we had
Uh,
them last year.
there were pre-shows, but I don't think in the same kind of way. Like,
No, they weren't as big. And it was just, I think that the time has come. Like they've shown that they can deliver in terms of, great songs, great variety, great vocalists, great performers, great singers, great production. Give them a space in your national finals. Give them a space elsewhere in your music programming. I
yeah,
don't know, but I want to see it. I want to see this on Allsång på Skansen. I want to see this on, you know, anything. Just
Stjernekamp, Maskorama
yeah,
Norway.
yeah, all of these. Like these artists are there, and if they are willing to do so, I would love to see them elsewhere. And I just it is disappointing that they go to SGP and then essentially a lot of them we don't hear any of them until the next Easter festival, and that's it because they've got day jobs or whatever to do. Um, I just it is one thing which everybody I talk to about SGP says we need this to be elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that is why a lot of people, or at least a big reason, a lot of people, myself included, got into stuff like this to hear more of the things that we don't usually hear. Whether that's like people getting really into like Baltic music or like Balkan music or Sami music in this instance. It I don't think that people get really into these shows, and I know this is coming from an international lens to hear more songs in English. I don't. And I think so many people would feel more represented. We have seen what happens in shows like but when Tons of Gears were in Benidorm Fest. The Galicians went mental for it. We saw it in the can you do you remember the name of the French selection? With
I no, I'm not going to say it now. Go on.
we
I'll
saw
let
it
you.
with Fulen, another minority language. Elsha she was so unlucky she competed in the year she did with Bambi Thug, because otherwise she would have won 10 times out of 10 with a song in Irish. Lusterkas Fadra Nishos, again, so unlucky that they competed in alongside Justyna Styczkowska, who was always going to win because of who she is, massive, probably one of the biggest stars in Poland. There is the demand, not for, especially from these communities who will vote in droves for a song that they feel truly represents them to be on the as wide a stage as possible. We've maybe even seen that in Melody Grand Prix and Melody Festival in the past with respective artists. People want there to be a song that represents them, and people want, and a lot of the other people, they don't care if they understand the language or not.
Me and Daniel live in the UK, and Nicholas lives in Denmark. We don't understand a single thing that is going on, but we are armed with Google Translate
Yeah,
and we will look it up. You
behind
know,
I've got a ton of Dutch things behind me. I don't speak Dutch.
I go to Sweden 4 times a year. I don't speak Swedish. But I think there is this market for it. There is people want to see this, and especially when we know that what is being created is high quality anyway. Like this is not a concession based on the fact that oh yeah, we should have some representation. No, it's not that. We know that what is coming up from this is good.
I have said
Give
far
it
too many times to
space.
be healthy that this is the best music scene in the world per capita. And I don't think it's even remotely close in that fact. Because there is total number of Sami people same amount of people who live in my city there or thereabouts. And I will tell you for a fact, people here could not put even like 10% of a show this good on. Because
Yeah, I just think
I think there
for
is an additional layer when it comes to a situation like this where the artistry truly shines through. And
and also
I
I'd
would
liked
understand if these people didn't want to be in your shows. There
yeah,
is centuries of history that dictate that. But
I
if they are willing, let them in. You won't regret it.
yeah, and I think there is a sense of you are going to have to reach out and do it. You know, the fact that we get, say, for the last 3, 4 years,
I know
we've had
for a fact
Sámi
that
out artists at Melfest weekend.
yeah,
So Sámi artists are performing on the same stage as they're coming next to Caroline Nicholas and stuff like that. You know, and there is nobody sitting there going, ugh, why are these people here? Everybody's like, heck yeah, we want to hear this, and I, you know, it is baffling to
one thing
me.
I did, I wanted more Pierre Herrera this year.
Yeah, I was really disappointed we didn't have like the
'Cause
reigning winners
he's been
back
busy as well.
properly. Yeah, he's lovely as well. Absolute, what a legend. But I just think that, I think it would also be more motivation for artists to get involved. We've had quite a few of the artists here for this year have not performed in Sami language before. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so, if they know that not only are they going to, be in Sámi GP and get that exposure from our Sámi GP, but also there's potentially a spot for them in a national final or in a show somewhere. That's it's all momentum. It's all good, stuff. And I'd love to see more being made of it because at the moment it happens and the Easter Festival happens and then nothing happens for most artists. And trust me, I know because I do follow them afterwards.
a lot of them are great follows. To be fair,
Yeah, they really are. Yeah.
Hilda Landsman's in Greenland at the minute.
What a legend. Anyway, we should wrap this up. But yes, basically, we want to see these folks elsewhere. Don't just leave them in SGP. We want to hear more throughout the year.
I do have two final thoughts that I'm just
Go
going
on.
to add here at the end. One of them is that I think people will hear about this and think this is a novelty competition. This is a silly thing, and there's not really any budget or any serious things going into this. And I just want to say, like, as someone who had probably thought that before too, that's simply just not the case. And I think that it's so important to say that. And I hope that more people will realize that. And I think putting it on, for example, SVT2 and putting it on Yle in Finland as well, like more eyes will see this. And hopefully that also means that more people will take it serious. Because I absolutely think this is a serious music competition with serious artists in it. And I love that. And I think my final point here, I'm gonna come close and I'm gonna clip it and send it directly to DR because like, Norway, Sweden, and Finland have Sámi Grand Prix, and that's great. This is the time to do something on DR with the culture from Greenland and the Faroe Islands. It's public service. We need to do it. It's more important than ever that the kingdom is together. And I think it's such a shame that there are so many people in Denmark who know nothing about Greenlandic or Faroese culture. The only thing they know are like the stereotypes. We need to do something about this. And I think Sámi Grand Prix is a great example of how to break down some of those stereotypes and show that these are people with stories to tell, with history, with culture as well. We need that for Greenland and for the Faroe
Yeah.
Islands as well. They deserve
As
it.
someone who isn't Danish, I watched the Pan last year. I was completely blown away by the Greenlandic song. So I would
They were
watch anything
amazing.
with them in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Sámi GP 2026. Um as usual, you can follow us, you can like, subscribe, etc. You know, we're lovely. We do all sorts of content. Um and you know, we would like to hear what you thought about Sámi GP this year. Tell us in the comments. Let us know who your favorites were, who you liked, and if you agree with us that they should be in the national finals. But yeah, thank you very, very much for watching. We will be back with more discussions and stuff as things go on. Daniel, you are not part of the site. You are part of a different site. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at samimusic.blog or Sámi Music Blog on most of the websites you can think of.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for coming along. Thank you, Nicklas, also for coming along and sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much to everybody, and we will see you again on the next one. Bye.
Bye.